Let's start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this live paper session at the Sustainable Place Conference that is held in Milan this year. In this session, we will have four presentations related to innovative research activities for consumers and industry energy. My name is Simone Buffa, and I'm a thematic area leader for smart and sustainable communities at Up2M Solution Italy. And I'm pleased here to introduce you the speaker of this session. So we will have first Philippe Hamman of the University of Strasbourg, part of the SAGE Research Unit, with this presentation called "Is there an European model for agricultural anaerobic digestion?" So Philippe, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot. So sorry for the inconvenience. I hope it will work. Yes, so let's start with our scope. I will focus on agricultural anaerobic digestion at the intersection of two configurations. So on the one hand, residues, and on the other hand, digestion methods, to examine the processes through which a sector develops and organizes, looking at actors and at the conditions of this development, drawing on social science approaches. We know that anaerobic digestion has now gained an important place in the energy mix in Europe as the world's leading biogas electricity producer, as you can see on this table, regarding the share of global biogas production and the number of biogas plants, for instance. Besides, please take a look at the bottom regarding the share of agricultural feedstocks in biogas production. You can notice that it is quite distinctive in Europe. So over 70% of crop, manure, and agricultural residues, whereas it's lower in the US or in China, for instance. So we investigate the dynamics and implications of the deployment of the sector around a possible European model for agricultural anaerobic digestion to fill a gap in terms of literature review, as existing reviews have tended to adopt a global approach and or to focus on barriers to adoption and the sociocultural acceptability of biogas. This research was supported by the French CNRS within the METATIP project, so socio-environmental implications of agricultural anaerobic digestion. And in this frame, we built parallel corpora of French and English language studies following a systematic protocol. So when we switch to materials and methods precisely, the first step consisted in assembling the two French and English language corpora using the BIPCNRS portal. And for this purposes of a systematic literature review, we chose not to limit ourselves to a few selected bases, as has been generally done on the subject. So you can see some examples. For instance, Alan and Tucker have examined the implication of the valorization of agricultural waste in a circular economy by using the Web of Science database. Nezarora and Kucherov use the Scopus database to consider barriers to biogas adoption in developed and developing countries. Mancini and Raggi review the sociocultural factors about acceptability of biogas projects drawing on two databases. And also Bremo and others debate their scenario for the development of the European biogas sector by focusing on four databases. On our side, we searched 16 databases indeed, 6 in French and 10 in English. We performed an advanced keyword search using terms associated with méthanisation agricole in French and agricultural biogas and agricultural anaerobic digestion in English. We introduced 3 restrictions by searching specifically for articles, so no book, no chapter of books, no introductions, and so on. Articles available in full text version and written in English or in French. Results were shown sorted by relevance. We selected all hits for bases offering under 100 references and otherwise the first 100. And this selection process allowed us to automatically exclude more than 27,000 results. Then, second phase, we applied additional selection modalities for the 1,200 papers resulting from the first search. And the final selection phase consisted in reading in full more than 100 papers, and we got a final tally of 73 papers. The different steps are summarized on this Prisma flowchart, as you can see. So, for instance, we included non-EU countries, papers that were outside the social science field, agricultural methanization when it's treated only marginally, and so on. So, in the third phase, the papers were categorized using a matrix to identify the main results and debates and to compare the two language corpora. And 6 main themes appear, connecting the paper's findings. The initial position of farmers and the industrial evolution, the typology of business models of farms and biogas plants, contextual and regulatory tools and barriers, the economic viability of biogas, the contribution or not to local rural development, and scenario studies. And I will try to sum up this interconnected issue. So here you can have a look at the matrix we use, and especially to distinguish, you can see on the top the 6 different themes I mentioned in the French literature and in the English-speaking literature. So now we switch to the result. First question, is there an evolution from an agricultural to an industrial model? Farmers represented the initial impulse indeed. So anaerobic digestion emerged from agricultural practices with Germany as a pioneer, with local projects based on manure and crop residues. This characterizes anaerobic digestion as a quite distinctive renewable energy source. So unlike wind, solar, or hydraulic energy, biogas is embedded in the social structures and practices of rural areas. So its inputs come from agricultural systems and not directly from natural elements as wind and so on. But on the other side, the increasing adoption of an energy transition discourse in biogas production, so not an agricultural discourse, but an energy transition discourse, has changed this initial emphasis on farmers. Closer interactions emerge between farmers and industry, starting upstream with biomass supply issues. So some farmers, called energy farmers, adopt entrepreneurial multi-partner approaches indeed, but this evolution benefits mainly capital-intensive farms and reinforces structural inequalities by favoring those best able to adapt to modernization dynamics. So we can distinguish differentiated farmers' roles and trajectories, practically speaking. For instance, Baird and others classify plants by ownership and farmer autonomy, distinguishing industrial units, territorial units, mixed ownership units, and agricultural units. So a whole spectrum from cooperative control to dependence on external capital. Rakotovao and others identify more precisely 4 farmer postures in the case of collective projects: leaders, driving forces, entrepreneurs, and passive actors. So on the whole, we can say that the different typologies highlight the heterogeneity of roles and power relations and how collective anaerobic digestion projects are embedded in territorial and relational dynamics. Besides, another important point deals with the fact that across Europe, the rise of biogas is strongly correlated with public policies and subsidies. As you can see on this table, it highlights different challenges as investment costs, bureaucracy, or legal uncertainty in particular. And what is interesting is the ambivalent effect of subsidies. So, substantial public subsidies have enabled biogas development, but also created dependency. So, it questions the economic and social viability of the sector in Western as well as in Central Europe alike, and it leads to more hypotheses of a governance paradox. On the one side, territorialized governance allows direct intervention. Projects are mainly developed at state or regional level because regulation is feasible and targeted. On the other hand, globalized biomethane networks complicate regulation. Expansion through gas grids increases scale and reduces political control precisely when stronger oversight would be needed because the growing role of large industrial actors raises sustainability concerns. So we come precisely to our discussion. So how viable are the biogas and biomethane supply chains in Europe? For sure, the main appeal of biogas for farmers rests on an economic rationale. So the fact that it is a source of additional income or can secure the profitability of their farms. But there are several barriers to profitability. Firstly, biogas plants require high investment costs, the cost of building the digester, equipment, hiring technical staff, and so on, which can be added the cost of managing the units thereafter. Second, biogas is more expensive than natural gas, which can dissuade end user concerned about having to pay more. And thirdly, as mentioned before, farmers are dependent on public and support programs. So these concerns can account for the fact that cogeneration units, so heat and power, cogeneration units have been losing ground in Europe. The biogas sector has had to face a paradigm shift with biogas being transformed into biomethane to a greater extent across Europe, and that's precisely the issue for Moll's hypothesis. So regarding the future, firstly, many future studies in the literature support the development of anaerobic digestion in Europe. But there is a connection between the priorities developed in the studies and the institutions that bring form. So, for instance, in France, Cadieu and others compare possible biogas development scenarios, exploring the influence of farm-fed anaerobic digestion. And the seven least concerned with agri-sustainability come from energy-related institutions, so they focus mostly on decarbonization, whereas the three most committed to agri-environmental issues were led by an NGO specialized precisely in agricultural issues. And secondly, we can notice that there are competing narratives on biomethane, as shown, for instance, in the Austrian case, with three main narratives. Greening of gas, the first one, where biomethane is given a key role in the energy transition, so a large-scale production is required. Second, champagne of the energy transition, with doubts about feedstock availability for manure and so on, and high cost involved. So in this case, biomethane is only justified if no better low-carbon option exists. And thirdly, Energy Farmer 2.0, a narrative centered on local job creation and rural economic activity. What is important to say is that the coexistence of these three diverging narratives prevents adoption of a unified strategy frame. And that should remind us of the ever-changing and ongoing nature of the socio-technological innovation. So as a matter of conclusion, Even if there are, of course, different priorities taken over time, it is possible to identify a European model for farm-fed anaerobic digestion, characterized mainly by, first, the primacy given to energy transition goals over objectives related to the agricultural and ecological transition, and second, there is a central ongoing tension between the prominence given to farmers and localized references versus a process of industrial supply chain building and the rise of a more globalized model. And this dynamic interpretation expresses, as I mentioned before, ever ongoing interactions and processes. So thanks a lot for your attention, and if you are interested, I can recommend you this collective work published in French by Édition du Cavalier Bleu or a recent paper in the open access journal Sustainability. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Philippe. Um, Thank you again for your interesting presentation. So if there is no question from the audience, I will move forward with the next presenter, Carmen Valor, Universidad Pontificia Comillas, with the presentation called Engaging Consumers in Flexibility Services with Perceived Value. That is part of the project Be Flexible. Carmen, I leave the floor to you.
Okay. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so in this project, as we have done in other projects, we are interested in flexibility services. So as the uptake of renewable energy increases, we will have a system that is more intermittent, and this needs active demand response. So we should be able to adapt to this energy inflow. So when there's a lot of inflow, we should consume more, and when we have less than optimal, then we should consume less. And demand response is managed with two types of strategies. With implicit demand response, policymakers use prices to control this demand, right? And what we are looking on, or what we focus on in this project, is explicit demand response. So these are adaptations based on signals. So whereas in implicit demand response, you are expected to change your habits because electricity is more expensive during the day, for instance, and you shift your consumption towards the night. In explicit demand response, consumers get a signal and they are asked to, I don't know, switch off all the equipment for a quarter of hour, or for half an hour, or for an hour. And consumers that have pre-selected for this scheme, then they need to respond to the signal. And both type of things can be done manually or automatically. So as you can imagine, it's not easy that consumers willingly provide this flexibility. So the first difficulty is changing their practices. So if the signal comes when you are preparing dinner and you have small children, it's very difficult that you say, okay, children, we are not going to have dinner for an hour. We are going to delay this for an hour because we got this signal. Also, it's difficult to explain what flexibility entails. That's another reason for their reluctance. But the main reason is that because they perceive little value. So what's in it for me? So why? Because this is a huge disruption. It's very costly, personally costly, in terms of disruption of routine. So what do I gain from providing flexibility? And this is the main question that we want to that we address in this talk. So what we did in the project is that we conducted interviews with consumers, and we tried to identify value propositions that could overcome the limited perceived value. So we came up with these, the value propositions that you are seeing here. So they can gain money or equipment, they can optimize and be more efficient, they are willing to get information or advice, blah, blah, blah. Protection of assets and people, this may be more difficult to understand. So protection of assets and people, of course, because when you sign up for flexibility, especially with automated flexibility, flexibility, you get like an ongoing screen of your equipment, so you can know if there's like if it's using more than should be, and therefore the equipment is not working properly. And also this can be used for, imagine that you have your mother is quite old. With this automatic flexibility, you can also know if your mother got up in the morning and started preparing breakfast or not. So this gives you like remote access for to protect your equipment and your significant others. And we created a value proposition framework that you can find here. This is a tool that where you can personalize depending on your type of customer and depending on the service that you need to provide to the DCO. You can select which type of value proposition would be more adequate to gain consumers. So from these value propositions, we came up with these three type of incentives. So consumers could be incentivized to participate by giving them monetary incentives, by giving them in-kind incentives, so not discounts or payments, but they get a monetary benefit, but in kind, or they can get symbolic incentives. And we know that, so you may think, if you list, you may think, okay, but consumers will only react to monetary incentives. And this is true and not true at the same time, because in UK, there was a great trial on flexibility, so with 1 million consumers voluntarily accepted receiving a signal and responded to it. The trial measured how many actually responded, and the reasons for their response were not necessarily economic. So for some, for instance, the opportunity of being disconnected from the world for half an hour was the main incentive. So the fact that they could not be reached and they were isolated for half an hour. Something similar occurred in Spain during the blackout. So that was like one of the benefits of the blackout, that people couldn't be contacted, so they had like a sort of a break. And also for many people, the main driver to participate was to ensure the stabilization of the grid, or ensure that the energy went to the people that need it most. So for instance, people that needed equipment for life support, like oxygen or something like that. So ensuring that others had the energy was also a powerful incentive. So it seems that monetary incentive could be part of the equation, but maybe it's not the whole response to motivate consumers. So to test the relevance of these value propositions that were inductively identified, we conducted a test among aggregators, and we are also conducting at the moment a test among consumers, but the data collection is not finished and I cannot present the results. So with aggregators are the main actors, so they will be like the middleman connecting consumers with DCOs. So these are the ones that have to recruit the consumers and giving them the incentives, and they amass their energy, let's say, and sell it to the DCO when they need it. So to study what aggregators thought, what was their experience with these incentives, we did a qualitative phase and a survey. Unfortunately, the survey, we got a very low response rate, so the sample is very small. So what we found is that monetary incentives is like the starting point. So the reason why they sign up for providing flexibility is that they are getting a discount. Usually they prefer a fixed discount rather than a variable discount. But to maintain them to maintain them responding to the signals, they need other type of value. And this is where the other incentives that we identified are necessary. So one of the most important incentives is being more efficient. So lowering bills and emissions is one reason. Being more so this environmental incentive was very important, especially for industrial consumers. And for residential consumers, having access to better equipment. So instead of getting a discount on the bill, what they get is a discount on future equipment, so that they can get batteries for a lower price, or smart controllers, or they can change their equipment, retrofit, or buy a better, more efficient washing machine. And we also found that there were value propositions that we know from the literature and from this great trial in UK that were important that have not been ever tested. So sharing energy, for instance, this idea that I stop my consumption so that my neighbor can ensure power for their kids or for the old people. These have not been tested. Also, the exchange of information or advice have not been tested, or symbolic incentives where you are singled out as a person that is contributing to the community. All these incentives have not been tested ever by none of the aggregators. So they are all using monetary incentives to convince consumers. And as expected, there's a difference between industrial and consumer profiles, whereas industrial are more persuaded by monetary incentives, and consumers are more open to these other non-monetary incentives. These are a bit the results of the quantitative phase, and they are very similar. So they selling flexibility and reducing energy bill. Reducing energy bill is the most important incentive, rather than getting an extra payment, which raises a lot of questions about, for instance, tax, if it should be taxed or not, if this should be considered as income or not. What they prefer is having a discount. Is much easier, simpler, and everything. And also, reducing energy consumption is a very powerful incentive. And here you can see that the strategies that they have not considered or considered and didn't work. So you see that reducing carbon emissions as an incentive is one that the aggregators have tried, but didn't work, or were not persuasive enough for their consumers. Whereas there are others, like sharing energy or caring for others, that have not been considered or tested ever. Um, and this is a summary of what type of incentives they are actually using. So most of them are paying by availability. So depending on so you say that you want to commit, they ask you all your equipment, and they calculate how much kilowatts could you provide to the grid in case you respond to the signal. And very few pay by activation. That would be a variable payment. So every time you respond to the signal, you get an amount. And as you can see, the discount of on equipment is much used as a simple way to provide these monetary incentives. So as a result of all this research, the inductive research we did with consumers and with aggregators, we propose a value proposition canvas that shows the pains, gains, and gain creators that can help aggregators orient their business model. These are the main conditions for their business model design: that they need to have a transparent revenue model for consumers, and have a coherent package between economic rewards, asset care, and smart operation. And it's also clear that there's a preference for not manual flexibility, but automated. That means that it's not you that goes, switching off everything, but you have a remote controller, and when it's necessary, your equipment is activated or deactivated remotely. And we also call for other monetary incentives, and also to consider other symbolic and gamified approaches. There's this company, Connect, is an American company now expanding to Australia, that had a very different business model compared to the aggregators in Europe. And it approaches this flexibility more as a game than as a serious matter, and it has been very successful. So this is all on my side, and probably you will have, maybe we can have a debate at the end.
Thank you very much, Carmen. I don't know if there is any question from the audience. Seems not, so we can move forward with the next presentation from Luciano De Tommasi, member of the International Energy Research Center, Tyndall National Institute. Luciano De Tommasi will present activities of the project AUDIT-PLUS with the presentation called PESTLE Analysis to Determine Energy Efficiency Levels of Change of Energy-Intensive Industries in Ireland, Spain, and Poland. Luciano, I give the floor to you. We don't hear you, Luciano. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so thank you, Simone, for this introduction. The contribution I'm going to present comes from the AUDIT-PLUS project, which is the extended title is Enhancing Energy Audits Schemes in Energy-Intensive Industries with Practical Approaches. And it's a project that has been funded under the LIFE CET 2022 call. And it is a project that, which is contributing toward improving energy efficiency in energy-intensive industries. And it's offering a free consultancy service to companies in Ireland, Spain, and Poland, and provides them with technical, financial, and regulatory support to implement energy efficiency measures and reduce their energy consumption and meet the EU emission targets. And in this project, we have developed in one of the tasks an analysis of the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors which determine the levers of change for these industries toward improving their energy efficiency. And in particular, we have analyzed Ireland, two regions in Spain, which are Castellón and Galicia, and Poland. And I'm going to present a summary of these results. Okay, so in each of these regions, we considered different sectors for target sectors. In Ireland, mainly pharmaceutical. We are also interested in chemical and healthcare and other energy-intensive sectors, but let's say in this presentation, it's mainly pharmaceutical. In Spain, Castellón, it's about the ceramic sector, and Galicia is food processing, and in Poland, it's also food processing. So in Ireland, the government is committed to measure energy, climate, and efficiency-related investments through the National Development Plan, and investment of 116 billion are planned. What are the most important themes in Ireland? So employment stability, regional development, and support to the construction sector. The war in Ukraine led to higher oil and natural gas prices, and this resulted in increased household costs for heating, oil, gas, electricity, diesel, and petrol. Also, there has been a raise in October 2023 for the electricity, plus 26.7%, and gas bills, 37.5%. Electric Ireland is an electricity retailer in Ireland. And we can see that the government activity includes public campaigns that promote energy efficiency and provide supports for families. And the National Development Plan committed to invest 21.8 billion in the transition to a low carbon and climate resilient society. There are some new trade sanctions against Russia that are legally binding in Ireland, and there are penalties that apply to Russia. There are trade restrictions that affect chemicals, lithium batteries, thermostats, UAV motors, machine tools, and software. Ireland is cooperating with the United Kingdom to ensure a stable and secure natural gas supply through a shared infrastructure and planning and emergency coordination. The Climate Action Plan 2025 in Ireland sets ambitious targets for reducing carbon emissions. And furthermore, the hydrogen strategy, the National Energy and Climate Plan, and the National Recovery and Resilience Plan provide pathways for decarbonization and support for small and medium-sized enterprises and for transitions toward digitalization of these companies. The energy security to 2030 is a policy that focuses on shifting from fossil fuels to electricity led, so electrification of the power system. The inflation, so the economic factors that matter for energy-intensive industries include a peak of inflation in November 2023 due to the war in Ukraine, and you can see that 2024 it was 1.3%, then has increased, and now slowly it's decreasing. But Ireland may experience some economic relief because of the gradually declining energy prices and government measures that aim to restore the incomes for households and reduce the cost of living pressures. The unemployment was higher than 15% in 2010, and it is now, so in December 2023 was 4.9, and then 4.3, even lower in 2024. And now it seems that is slightly increasing, but still is low and below 5%. One of the effects of the full employment is that the wages are rising, and so the employers are competing with each other to hire workers, and this may have a negative effect in relation to productivity and overall competitiveness, but it may also have a positive effect in terms of having workers that produce in these energy-intensive industries. The Irish economy is highly advanced and has strong sectors in technology, life sciences, financial services, and the agribusiness, we can say. The gross domestic product structure is mainly dominated by services, 59%. Then we have a 37% manufacturing, and some construction, 3%, agriculture, 1%. And the expenditure structure, so the private consumption is about 31%, investments, 26%, government consumption, 12%, and exports, 30%. In 2023, the gross domestic product was reduced a little bit because of the weaker exports, especially related to pharmaceutical and medical products. But in 2025, this is increasing again thanks to rising wages, exports, and investments. The risks for the economy include housing shortage, which can drive up the prices, and a volatile energy market that may create uncertainty for households and businesses. A number of supports are offered by the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland to businesses, and like the non-domestic microgeneration grant for solar PV, the support scheme for renewable heat, the Exceed certified grant scheme, the energy efficiency obligation scheme, the accelerated capital allowance, and renewable heat incentive. Among the social factors, we noted that the 62% of the population between 25 and 34 years old have the third level education versus an EU average of 41%. And this is important because it correlates also with this high level of education correlates with the ability of implementing energy efficiency measures in energy-intensive industries. In Ireland, there is a high quality of life, strong employment in technology, banking, and pharmaceutical sector. The cost of living is slightly higher than the EU average, especially in Dublin and Cork. That's why the 79% of consumers have adopted the cost savings behaviors in 2023. They have switched the brands, they seek the promotions, and they cut non-essential spending. Ireland has a median age of 38 years, and this factor, along with the ongoing population growth, is contributing to having a young and well-educated workforce. In Ireland, most of the population has a strong belief in science, and also they trust the pharmaceutical companies and see the pharmaceutical sector as a driver for jobs, innovation, and quality of life. The energy-intensive industries, and in particular the pharmaceutical sector in Ireland, demand a number of technologies like renewable energy efficient motors, compressed air optimization, improved steam efficiency, LED lighting, smart meters, solar photovoltaic systems, and energy storage solution. They also require efficient machinery such as reactors, centrifuges, dryers, and blowers, as well as fiber reinforced plastic blades, natural lighting systems, and energy monitoring and management technologies. We have noticed, though, that the equipment that are involved in the manufacturing process are usually more difficult to upgrade because of the fear of disruption in the manufacturing processes compared to other measures that are, for example, renewables or HVACs upgrades, and all the measures that do not directly impact the manufacturing process. In these industries, there is a need for obsolescence management plans and to develop strong supplier relationships to mitigate what I mentioned, so the downtime risks for the manufacturing. And workforce development, which is needed in these industries, includes training and awareness programs focused on energy efficiency. And there are opportunities, for example, through our project or similar initiatives to foster a culture of energy savings and sustainability in these industries. Legal factors, I would mention the EU Energy Efficiency Directive, which is implemented via an energy efficiency obligation scheme and also through alternative measures. Then we have specific pharmaceutical regulations, such as the authorization from the Health Products Regulatory Authority, Good Manufacturing Practice Certification, and product controls. So these regulations might make energy efficiency upgraded more complex and slower to adopt, because any facility change must be validated, and so the pharmaceutical sector is a highly regulated environment, and therefore the companies must be sure that there are no compromises in product quality, and they comply with the regulations. And also the CE marking might slow down the implementation of these measures, because actually the energy efficiency measures might affect the conditions in which these market devices work, and these conditions, and therefore these conditions must be assessed and revalidated to maintain compliance. The energy efficiency obligation scheme is the main mechanism to meet the requirements of Article 7 of the Energy Efficiency Directive. It requires that large energy suppliers and distributors, which are called obligated parties, deliver verified annual energy savings. The savings are achieved through funded energy efficiency upgrades in homes, businesses, and we are interested in businesses, and the public sector, like insulation, lighting, and heating systems. And this is administered by the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, and allows, it is a scheme that allows trading of verified energy credits between obligated parties. There are also alternative measures, such as complementary government programs that deliver measurable energy savings, public retrofit grants, social housing, and public sector upgrades. In industrial and commercial efficiency supports and tax incentives, such as the accelerated capital allowance, are also alternative measures to implement the Article 7 of EED, and also transport efficiency and plus other policy measures. The environmental factors. First of all, we have noted that the climate change is impacting Ireland. So there is a raise in the temperature of 0.8 Celsius degrees since the 1900 year, and plus 5% rainfall since the 1980s. The levels of the sea is rising of 3.6 millimeters a year. So there is a risk of flooding, coastal erosion, infrastructure damage in major cities. There is air pollution, not only the CO2, but also other pollutants like nitrogen dioxide, PM, ozone, and PAH that are causing thousands of premature deaths annually in Ireland. And so the transition towards a circular economy will also include the reduction in waste, and so 100 million tons to be reduced, and the electricity consumption is 30.6 billion kilowatt hour a year. There is very high domestic production and renewables in Ireland. There are opportunities to further expand the renewable energy, integrate and into the EU grid, and fully decarbonize, almost fully decarbonize the country. There is support for waste management for the Environmental Protection Agency and local authorities. Some businesses may lack specific policies or support, so this support can be improved. Now I'm moving to the region of Castellón in Spain. Here, I think the analysis has highlighted that there has been a change in the local government in the Valencian community, and this is creating uncertainty about continuity of funding for energy efficiency measures. Also, in this case, the war in Ukraine caused energy price to increase. There are a number of policies like the European Green Deal, the REPowerEU plan, and the updated Energy Efficiency Directive that promote energy efficiency in Castellón by setting binding targets, providing regulatory frameworks, and offering financial and technical support for sustainable energy measures. In Spain, there is an energy saving certificates scheme that encourages energy efficiency also in the area of Castellón by allowing companies to earn and trade certificates for verified energy saving actions, helping them to reduce the cost of implementing these measures and also promoting sustainable practices. So the economic and trade factors include rising costs of energy transportation and raw materials, which cause an increase in the final product prices and reduce competitiveness. In 2022, the ceramic industry faced the negative impacts, including the loss of over 1,000 jobs, and also reduced exports due to trade restrictions in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Algeria. And the European Union introduced anti-dumping measures on about ceramic tile imports from India, China, and Turkey to protect the EU market and help the companies in this area to restore the competitiveness. Social technology and environmental factor include the public transport for support for sustainability and renewable energy is increasing. The ceramic sector is one of the energy intensive sectors and also contributes significantly to Spain's gross domestic product. Upgrading equipment in this sector is challenging because the equipment is expensive and has a longer lifespan. There are opportunities, though, to adopt energy efficient and renewable technologies, reducing recycling waste, and also improving overall energy efficiency. Now I'm moving to Galicia. So this is another region you can see on the northwest side of Spain. Also, in this case, there has been an influence of the Ukraine war in the global oil, gas, and fuel prices. In Galicia, the high costs of the equipment and technology have slowed down short-term investment in energy efficiency, whereas in the long term, the higher energy prices are a driver for implementing energy efficiency improvements. There is this is Poland, sorry. In the agrofishing sector has been negatively impacted by the arrival of cheap food imports from abroad. So our project is focused on supporting the agrofishing sector in Galicia. Imported products often do not meet the Spanish quality standards, so the local producers are facing unfair competition and a reduced market share. The inflation remains high while the unemployment rate has been declining since 2020. Rising energy and material costs are reducing also the profitability in energy-intensive industries. In Galicia, there has also been a growth in the energy management practices and also a growth in creation of dedicated energy manager roles. Public awareness of energy waste and the benefits of energy or renewable energies is also increasing. Photovoltaic panels are becoming increasingly cost-effective for installation in homes and public buildings, but also in industries. The barriers include limited subsidies and low budgets, lack of reliable return on investment data, and also outdated machinery in the agrofishing industry, whereas the progress includes recycling organic waste such as fish, processing water, and other biological wastes, and this can be repurposed as sources of protein and fuel. And another issue, environmental issue, is that the problem of microplastic pollution in the sea. I'm moving to the last country, Poland. So in Poland, political stability is encouraging industrial investment, especially in the food sector. Ukraine war also increased the energy prices and created supply risks. There are some legal drivers, such as national laws, mandatory audits, and compliance with European Union directives. And energy audits help industries to identify energy savings opportunities, reduce costs, and enhance competitiveness. The inflation and the reduced gross domestic product growth affect the industrial investment. There is a high unemployment rate that provides a ready labor supply, which can facilitate the uptake of energy efficiency measure in energy-intensive industries, because companies have easier access to workers for implementing the upgrades, retrofits, and energy savings projects without facing labor shortages or increase the labor costs. Consumer dynamics include growing preferences for eco-friendly products, while the reducing incomes increase demand for more affordable products. There are tax policies that influence the adoption of energy efficiency measures, and incentives can also be effective to encourage investment in energy efficiency. Technology and environment. So there's a growing demand for energy efficient technologies in the food sector, and energy audits play a critical role in detecting obsolete equipment, improving the planning for energy efficiency upgrades, and ensuring new technologies deliver real savings. Energy audits also improve workplace safety and compliance. The environmental benefits include reduced emissions, better waste management, integration with recycling, and circular economy initiatives. And overall, we think the energy audits enhance both productivity and sustainability in Poland. So, summary and conclusions. Overall findings are, so a PESTLE analysis, we performed a PESTLE analysis in Ireland, Castillon, Galicia, and Poland. And some common challenges outlined in this presentation include the war in Ukraine that has driven up energy and fuel prices. High inflation has led to increased operational costs for energy-intensive industries. And the result is that the investment in energy efficiency have declined along with the demand for energy audits. There are some political and policy drivers that influenced the investments in energy efficiency. We can say that political stability supports long-term energy efficiency policies, and national and EU grants and subsidies are strong enablers for energy audits. In Valencia, there is uncertainty about budget support for the ceramic sector following a change in the local government. There are trade restrictions that reduce revenues and can hinder investment in energy efficiency projects because they are not prioritized due to the lower income. And economic factors that influence decisions of the energy-intensive industries in these regions include decline or a slow growth in gross domestic product, and this can lead to fewer investment in energy audits. High inflation raises the product prices, reduce the sales and profits, and leave less resource available for energy efficiency measures. The tax incentives act as a positive driver for industry investment in energy audits. There is also an influence of the social factors, like the employment rate is probably the most difficult factor to understand. So there is a low unemployment in countries like Ireland and Poland that may boost productivity because there is a stable and skilled workforce. But this also causes a raise in wages and labor costs. And so there is a trade-off for industries. And high unemployment makes it easier for companies to recruit skilled workers. So there is recruitment becomes easier with when unemployment is high. Consumer income is low. So when low income shift demands to cheaper imports. In the case of Galicia, they are cheaper food products. And new regulations are necessary to protect local producers and product quality. In Poland, there is an increasing demand for eco-friendly products, and this is a driver for energy audits. Higher education levels, like in Ireland, increase awareness of energy efficiency opportunities. Then there is a public perception about the products that influence the sales, like the ceramics are seen as a durable and low maintenance products, pharmaceutical as beneficial for health and quality of life, and fish products as high quality meals. Influence of technological and environmental factors. Okay, there is high demand for energy efficient equipment and devices in energy intensive industries, and the energy audits are critical for identifying outdated technologies, supporting decarbonization strategies, reducing CO2 and other pollutants, and enabling recycling and circular economy initiatives. Okay, thanks very much. I think this was my presentation.
Thank you, Luciano. I don't know if there is any question from the audience. Otherwise, I can make a small one. So I was wondering, Luciano, if in your analysis you you discovered if there is any in those countries any kind of incentives only to perform the audit. Just to make you an example, so in Italy we are seeing some incentives, some support schemes that also cover the audit cost, but I would say the incentive schemes consider both the audit activities, but mainly also the renovation work. So I was wondering if in those countries you discover you found any kind of incentives that only support, only cover the cost of the audit part.
Yes, there are such incentives. I am aware of an incentive for energy audits in Ireland, and I believe also in the other countries. I have also to say that our project offers free of charge energy audits and any personalized consultancy to quite a large number of companies. And so we we also have developed a knowledge hub, which is a website where we publish information and advices, recommendations for these companies. So I would say in these countries, the Audit-PLUS project plays a role in delivering free of charge energy audits, but it can also be a consultancy. It could also be validation of an existing energy audit, because many companies have already performed an energy audit, some have not. And I think that there is no big barrier in relation to performing energy audits. There are more barriers about installing the measures and starting retrofitting projects for various reasons, for internal reasons, organizational reasons, and also lack of resources for these projects. But I would say that energy audits, even they are cheaper, cheap in general, so they're not a big issue. And also, we are delivering them free of charge right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Luciano. Okay, so if there is no further questions, let's move to the last presentation of this session. Ruchi Agrawal from the International Energy Research Center with the title of her presentation called Identifying Skill Gaps for Home Renovation One-Stop Shops in Science for European Stakeholder Engagement as part of the BUSHROSS project. Ruchi, are you ready? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruchi Agrawal, and I'm working with International Energy Research Center in Cork, Ireland. Today, we will explore how the BUSHROSS project identified and is working to address the skill gaps for one-stop shops, in short, maybe we can call OSS, in home renovation across Europe. So let's see. So, what is this project? This project is all about making renovation easier and more efficient for residential sector. So, one-stop shops are designed to simplify the process for homeowners by providing everything they need under one window, like technical advice, legal guidance, financial planning, and many more, project management, etc. But to make these OSS work, we need skilled people behind them, and that's where the BUSHROSS comes in. The goal of BUSHROSS is to help organizations build the right skills to set up and run these one stop shops. During this project, we will do so by developing four training curricula for four different professional groups: economists, legal experts, engineers, and architects, and social workers as well. So these are these training will be supported through 6 modules. And in these 6 modules, there will be 4 vertical modules: legal, technical, financial, and social, targeted for each professional. And there will be 2 horizontal modules: organizational and digital skills and soft skills, for all 4 professional. And this training will be delivered in person and online. And project aims to deliver this Europass certified training via 6 national trainings in each pilot countries responsible for operation of OSS, and 1 European level train the trainers training to train the stakeholders who can further train the stakeholders for a operation of OSS in their own country. So this slide outlines the main objectives of BUSHROSS project. So what are the objectives of project is first, we aim to review and assess the specific training needs and requirements for one-stop shops. This means understanding what skills are missing and what knowledge OSS staff needs to operate the OSS effectively. Second, we develop, test, and validate the training curricula and certification schemes by making sure they work in practice and meet the European quality standards. Third, we want to increase the awareness among the relevant stakeholders. Many people still don't know what the OSS is and why it matters. So, communication and outreach are the key for the success of this project. Fourth, we work to strengthen the uptake of these training solutions. It's not enough to design the great training, we need people to actually use these trainings. And finally, we'll implement this training through train the trainer approach and national training session. This ensures that the knowledge spreads widely across the different countries. So, in short, our objective covers a full cycle: identify needs, create solution, raise awareness, encourage adoption, and deliver training at scales. To make sure our training meets the real needs, we engaged with stakeholders extensively. We ran an online survey that reached near 800 stakeholders, and we received around 250 responses in our online survey. And apart from online survey, we also organized 6 roundtables across all the 6 participating countries, which is Ireland, Greece, Bulgaria, Slovenia, Poland, and Ukraine, with over 160 participants altogether. This gave us both quantitative data and rich discussion with the stakeholders. So now I'll present you with some results of online survey. So who were the stakeholders who participated in survey? So here we can see how stakeholders identify their role in relation to one stop shop. So, about 36% see themselves as consultant, 29% as beneficiaries, 22% as those who are responsible for creating an operation of OSS. So, when we design this training, we need to consider these different stakeholders. And now, this slide breaks down those roles by countries. For example, in Slovenia, many respondents see themselves as consultant or beneficiaries, while in Bulgaria, more respondents see themselves as see themselves as responsible for operation of OSS or creation of OSS. And this variation means training program must be flexible and tailored to the national context. So next, we asked about, do you know what the OSS is, and is there any training for the OSS operation? And about half said yes, but a significant number said no, or they weren't sure. So this shows that awareness is still a challenge, and before we even train people, we need to explain what OSS is and why it matters. And here again, this slide shows the countrywide breakdown about this. So with this, you can see in Slovenia and Ukraine, they have people have higher awareness about the OSS, while in Poland and Greece, the awareness is low. So this suggests that the communication strategies needs to be country specific. Next, we asked about, are there any gaps in current trainings or upskilling programs, and if they are familiar with any such gaps. So the response were, here you see response were a bit mixed, with many saying they don't know. This reinforces the need for outreach and education before training. And now again, this the same question is with country breakdown. So breaking it down by country, you see Ireland and Slovenia and Ukraine shows higher familiarity with the training gaps, while Poland and Greece lags behind. And again, this points the need for targeted awareness campaigns. Next, one of the important question we asked about stakeholders to identify the training needs, what skill gaps are there, in which area do the we should organize the trainings. So the top training needs are technical aspects and solutions, followed by, you see here, funding options, legal frameworks, and organizational aspects. Soft skills and digital skills are also important, but ranked slightly lower. This tells that while technical knowledge is important, it's critical, but we cannot ignore the communication and digital literacy. And if we look this training needs by country, so you see like Bulgaria places a high importance on legal and technical training, while Ireland emphasizes the funding and soft skills as well. You see, Poland prioritizes technical and financial aspects. Ukraine focuses on digitalization. So, this diversity means one size fits all approach will not work. And then next, we asked about whether the stakeholders believe that digital methods of training would be beneficial for one stop shop staff. And the response were very positive. Over 86% says, around 86% says yes. This shows the strong support for using online platforms for trainings, which is great because digital training allows for flexibility and scalability. And if we break down the same response by country, so we see here like Slovenia and Ukraine are very high support for digital training, while you see Greece and Ireland have very few, like they have more of don't know answers. So this suggests that while digital training is widely accepted, we still may need to provide more clarity and reassurance in some countries. And next, we asked about the benefits of modular training. And again, like good news is that around 85% people said yes. They confirmed that modular training would be helpful to them, and this says like stakeholders value flexibility and ability to learn at their own pace. So, and if we see the modular training by country, here we see Slovenia and Ukraine again lead the support for modular training, and Greece and Ireland show a little bit of uncertainty again. This means like in these countries we need to emphasize the benefits of modular training. And then, after organizing the online survey, we organized a roundtable discussion. These roundtable discussion added the depth of these findings. They showed us the diversity of needs and challenges across the countries. and from legal frameworks and to community engagement strategies. So this first I'll present the cross-country findings and training priorities. So across all countries, one message was clear. The training must be holistic. It's not enough to focus on technical skills alone. We need to integrate legal, financial, and social aspects too. The key training topic identified included like advanced technical solutions, national legal frameworks, funding options, citizen engagement strategies, and specific for training identified include like citizen energy communities, smart readiness indicators, building energy management, renewable energy technologies, a quality assurance system, which we'll go through it when we discuss these findings for each country. Digital and modular training were widely supported as scalable solutions, and interestingly, there was a strong interest in using AI and digital tools to make OSS more efficient. And if we analyze the results of roundtable organized by each country, so first let's go through Bulgaria. So the Bulgarian roundtable was held on 9th May 2025 during an annual meeting of energy agencies. It gathered 46 participants, which include representatives from ministries, national and local authorities, energy auditors, vocational and training providers, and many other stakeholders. The discussion focused on enhancing the training approach for OSS staff. The key suggestions included introducing citizen energy communities for multifamily buildings under the legislation modules, incorporating building energy management into technical modules. They also suggested adding renewable energy technologies like solar thermal and heat pumps in the modules, and incorporating building and introducing smart readiness indicators for dynamic building shells. This shows Bulgaria is thinking ahead about integrating advanced technologies and increase. So the Greek roundtable was organized again on same day on 9th May in Athens as an hybrid event. It attracted 17 participants from municipalities, ministries, energy consultants, vet providers, and building sectors. In Greece, the focus was on social aspect. Participants highlighted the role of social workers in supporting vulnerable families and understanding household energy needs. They also stressed the importance of financial and administrative knowledge for OSS staff. Challenges were also discussed, which were like limited awareness of OSS staff, limited awareness about the one stop shops, and shortage of skilled workers. And in Greece, the training should combine technical and social dimension as well. And in Ireland, so the Ireland's roundtable took place on 2nd July 2025 in Cork as a standalone event. 14 participants attended, including policymakers, local authorities, training providers, OSS service provider. So they, like for the BUSHROSS project, the BUSHROSS OSS in Ireland will be referred as advisory OSS because there is an already established OSS service by the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. So this terminology in Ireland will be to distinguish between two uh, different services, and discussion in Ireland was structured into breakout sessions focusing on export profiles. And the key training needs were identified across legal, social, technical, or environmental and economic domains. Legal training emphasized liability boundaries and planning regulations. Social training focused on homeowners' demographics and emotional intelligence. Technical training covered the retrofit measures and digital tools, and economic training priorities were addressed as grants and financial planning. And operational challenges like homeowner support and expectation management were also discussed. There was also strong emphasis on blended training approach, like combining online and face-to-face training and making the training a cost-free training and making it more accessible for the OSS staff. And these insights highlight the multifaceted nature of OSS training and importance of tailored comprehensive education. This shows Ireland values practical and flexible training solutions. For Poland, the Poland's roundtable was held on 16th May 2025 as a part of a bigger event, and it was attended by 11 participants who discussed the practical challenges in implementing the grant programs and conducting energy renovations. The Poland brought an interesting perspective. The participant agreed that the one stop shop should not feel like an office, it should feel like a friendly shop, and this is to build the trust and accessibility, especially for elderly people and who are digitally excluded citizens. This suggested that OSS should be welcoming and user friendly, resembling a shop rather than an office. They also suggested creating a contractor directories and creating a list of blacklist of contractors with in collaboration with the municipalities, and using digital tools and AI while maintaining the offline access as well, and expanding the municipal household stocks and simplifying the communication and eligibility criteria. And outreach models like German Energy Caravan were also highlighted as best practices for outreach. And this in Slovenia, the roundtable took place on 7th March in Ljubljana in collaboration with another life project, and it was attended by 39 experts. The key challenges and opportunities in comprehensive building renovations were discussed. Skill gaps were identified in organizational setup, legal framework, financial option, and technical solutions. Quality control and assurance were deemed critical, with proposal for a renovation quality assessment system and verified contractor list. The massive online open course with modular curricula and digital format training were validated to equip OSS staff with necessary competencies. This shows that Slovenia is ready for digital learning, but also there is a strong and wants a strong quality assurance about the home renovation. And finally, the Ukraine. The Ukraine Roundtable was held on 6 June 2025 in Kiev as part of one of the international conference organized by the university. The mixed format event included 35 participants from vocational education training providers, energy agencies, consulting centers, local authorities, energy auditors, homeowners, etc. And the participants unanimously supported the need to improve the training programs for housing repairs and renovation under a single window model. There was a strong call to deepen the technical knowledge to enhance the building efficiency and expand digitalization in training and retaining the retraining process. In Ukraine, the discussion reflected a unique post war context. The participants discussed that the regulatory framework needs revisions to accommodate the comfort indicator for buildings damaged by war. These insights underscore the importance of tailored, digitally enabled training and regulatory adoption of post conflict context. So, overall, these insights show that while the challenges may vary by country, the common thread is the need for holistic, flexible, and inclusive training for OSS staff. And this wouldn't be possible without the partners across Europe, from Ireland to Bulgaria, Greece, Poland, Slovenia, and Ukraine. And collaboration is key, and it is key and at the heart of this project. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruchi. Very interesting. Yeah, what we there was also clear in the last two slides, but I think we understood
Sorry,
everything.
Simon. It's not. There is your what you're saying is not clear.
Do you know? Do you know?
No, still there is like some issue with mic or something.
Lieutenant, people, do you know? Okay, let me check. So my headphones should be okay.
Yeah, it's better.
Thank you again for your presentation. So we reached the end of this session, so we can close it here. Thanks again for joining Sustainable Basis. I wish you, the continuation of the conference online, but I invite also you to join us next year in presence, since we are going to have the conference in Luxembourg. So it will be also nice to see you there in presence.